The principal's daughter and the school's reigning beauty queen made a bet. They bet on who would be the first to conquer me, the school's resident poor scholarship student. Both girls played the part of hopelessly in love maidens to perfection. They poured their hearts and souls into chasing me with the kind of grand romantic gestures you'd only see in a high-budget teen movie, and just when I had completely fallen into their trap, surrendering my first kiss and my genuine heart, they ruthlessly pulled the rug out from under me, exposing the entire ugly truth. Except for me, every single student and teacher in the school knew about this love campaign. Why? Because the whole twisted game was broadcasted live on the school's private forum, from start to finish. How could a country bumpkin like me be so naive? How could I actually believe that these ultra-rich, spoiled heiresses could ever truly love someone like me? When the truth dropped, I looked like a sad, wet street dog that just lost its favorite bone. I was laughed at by the entire school, isolated and shunned. In a state of complete mental breakdown, I accidentally slipped, fell into the school pool, and drowned in the dead of winter during my junior year. Yes, highly tragic and slightly pathetic. But then, I opened my eyes. I realized I had traveled back in time to the exact moment the live stream started. Right after school, I was cornered at the end of the hallway. Standing in front of me was Scarlett, the only daughter of the school board's chairman. She was resting her chin on her hand, looking at me with the kind of arrogant amusement one usually reserves for a dancing monkey at the zoo. She asked me, "Is it true you ranked first in the entire grade again in the monthly exams?" Scarlett was the golden child of the ultra-wealthy elite. Born with a platinum spoon in her mouth, her family wasn't just the biggest sponsor of our prestigious academy. They were titans in the business world with deep political ties. Basically, she was untouchable. In my past life, Scarlett had demanded I help her cheat on the monthly exam. I refused. As a result, she bombed the test, got chewed out by her mother, and naturally blamed the entire fiasco on me. To get back at me, she concocted this malicious prank. She and her best friend, the ice-cold beauty Bianca, made a bet to see who could seduce me first. Bianca even hacked into the school's security camera system to broadcast their seduction process live on the school forum, just to spice things up. To make it a true spectacle, Scarlett initiated a massive betting pool for the whole school, guessing who I would kiss first and exactly when. The winner would take home the entire donation pool from the live stream. An arrogant heiress like Scarlett, a stunningly manipulative beauty like Bianca, and a prize pool that eventually reached the millions. It made this broadcast the most earth-shattering event in the Academy's history. Back then, I was just a clueless high school boy. How was I supposed to defend myself against two powerful, wealthy girls armed with K-drama-level romantic schemes? After I finally accepted Bianca's confession, Scarlett, the loser of the bet, furiously exposed the whole thing. She laughed in my face, telling me this was nothing but a public love campaign. She mocked me, asking how a dirt-poor loser like me could ever think rich girls would actually love him. She called me a delusional, lower-class country boy. "Nobody ever gave a damn about you," she sneered. From that day on, I became the school's biggest joke. My initial shyness was mocked as lacking romance, my eventual softening was called fake, and my final genuine feelings were labeled as cheap and pathetic. Everyone laughed at my stupidity. My grades plummeted. I dropped out of the top 50, and my scholarship was revoked. My family plunged into debt. While my parents were working themselves to the bone doing manual labor to pay my tuition, they got into a car accident and passed away. Too many shocks broke my mind, and then I drowned in that freezing pool. After my death, the school quickly swept it under the rug, citing academic pressure. A little light self-reflection from the administration and they moved on. Scarlett, supposedly deeply traumatized by the event, was sent abroad. Rumor had it she lived a wild life, constantly changing boyfriends, all of whom vaguely resembled me. As for Bianca, she grew up, took over her family's tech empire, and became a famous philanthropic businesswoman by donating to poor regions. She eventually married a man from the countryside who had become newly rich. At her wedding, she looked at the groom tenderly and whispered, "He reminds me of my very first crush, my childhood friend. Julian, are you deaf?" Scarlett waved her hand in front of my face, snapping me back to reality. Her peach blossom eyes were sharp. When she stared at you, she looked like a fierce, alert leopardess. I knew the conquest broadcast had officially begun. On the school forum, the live comments were already rolling in. "This scholarship kid hit the jackpot," chased by both the princess and the beauty queen. "I'm betting my whole week's allowance on the beauty queen. Nobody rejects the goddess Bianca. I'm betting on the sour princess Scarlett. I like 'em feisty." Scarlett took a deep breath, trying to keep her cool, and repeated, "I'm here to give you a chance to make some cash. I heard you're from the countryside. You're definitely broke, right? Come to my house and tutor me. $1,000 a session. Deal?" I subtly glanced at the hidden camera mounted near the stairs, then lowered my head. With a calm voice, I politely declined. "Thank you for the offer, Scarlett, but I already have plans for the weekend." That weekend, as I walked out, pale skin, a face that looked slightly sickly due to my chronic lack of expression, my only redeeming feature was my eyes, hidden behind thick, nerdy black frames. I could easily take off the glasses right now, get a makeover, and make everyone look at me differently. But changing myself willingly? Where's the fun in that? It's much more impactful if I make them discover my hidden charm. Playing hard to get is a classic for a reason. I knew that even if I dodged Scarlett's trap today, they'd just invent a new game to torture me. With my current status, I couldn't fight two powerful heiresses head-on. But at least in this life, I knew their exact playbook. Oh, you want to act? Honey, we can both win Oscars here. I lowered my head and quickly walked toward the shopping district where Auntie Tessa's flower shop was located. Our academy was a gathering place for the elite. To maintain a faux image of diversity, they admitted a few top-tier commoners every year, the special honors students. There were 4 of us. Besides having giant brains, we shared one trait: we were painfully poor. But no matter how poor, no one wants to be invisible in a snobby rich school. As long as I stayed in the top 10, I got free tuition and a $500 monthly stipend. Since day one, I had never dropped from first place. I sent the stipend home and survived on part-time jobs. As I reached the flower shop, Auntie Tessa's excited voice rang out from the counter. Julian, we got a massive order today. She shoved her phone in my face. On the screen was a delivery order, $9.99 Floyd roses. The buyer specifically demanded they be imported from Ecuador, top-tier luxury stuff. Auntie Tessa was glowing. We're going to make a 5-figure profit on this as loan. In my past life, Scarlett wanted to force me to accept her tutoring job, so she ruined my part-time work in the simplest way possible. She casually ordered this massive batch of roses, forcing Auntie Tessa and me to run around the city all night sourcing them. And when we delivered them, Scarlett just yawned and said, "I'm bored of them. Cancel the order." Her family was untouchable. Auntie Tessa couldn't sue her. She had to eat the catastrophic financial loss. Auntie Tessa was a woman who had fled a toxic husband to start a new life here. After that debt, she had to close the shop and tragically return to him. Seeing my dark expression, Auntie Tessa looked worried. Julian, what's wrong? I shook my head. Auntie, this order feels like a setup. Don't buy the stock yet. Though hesitant, seeing my absolute certainty, Auntie Tessa agreed to hold off and delay the delivery time to test the waters. For the next week, I stopped going to the library. The second the bell rang, I sprinted back to my dorm like an Olympic athlete. Scarlett couldn't even catch a glimpse of my shadow. Her grand conquest plan had hit a brick wall on day one. The heiress was visibly losing her mind. Just as I predicted, a week later, she couldn't sit still anymore. It was Saturday afternoon. Auntie Tessa was napping in the back room, leaving me to watch the shop. I had just finished a math worksheet when I caught a familiar silhouette pacing outside the glass door. That petite, arrogant posture, unmistakable. I knew the moment had arrived. Right on cue, the shop's landline rang. I didn't hesitate to pick it up. Less than 10 minutes later, a balding, beer-bellied man stormed into the shop, his face red with rage. He kicked the door open so hard it practically flew off its hinges, roaring, "Where is that witch Tessa?" Woken by the noise, Auntie Tessa stumbled out, still half asleep. But the moment she saw him, the blood drained from her face. Why are you here?" The man didn't answer. He just sneered and lunged forward to grab her hair. I immediately threw myself in front of her, shouting, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He gave a nasty, mocking laugh. "I'm her husband. If I want to drag her back home and teach her a lesson, who's gonna stop me? Move, kid, or you'll get it too." "Assault is a crime," I yelled, perfectly projecting a mix of fear and righteous anger. "Leave now or I'm calling the cops." The man squinted, chuckled darkly, and shoved me hard. I crashed onto the floor right at the shop's entrance. My glasses flew off and my knee slammed into the doorframe. I curled into a ball, clutching my knee in apparent agony. But hidden from view, a tiny Oscar-worthy smirk flickered on my lips. I knew my timing was impeccable. Scarlett was right outside. I also knew she was wearing a top-of-the-line microcamera pinned to her collar. With all this screaming and crashing, both Scarlett and her livestream audience had a front-row seat to this unhinged family drama. I knew Scarlett too well. She was a lawless, spoiled princess, fiercely impulsive and far more tomboyish than her peers. Raised to believe she owned the world, she was the undisputed queen of our academy. Whether it was for her little conquest points or just her explosive temper, there was zero chance she would just stand by and watch. The damsel-in-distress act had played out perfectly. Now it was time for the heroine to enter the stage. A second later, heavy footsteps crossed the threshold. Before anyone could blink, Scarlett launched herself at the bald man like a heat-seeking missile. The livestream chat exploded. Holy crap, she actually jumped in. Who doesn't know Princess Scarlett has a 9th-degree black belt in karate? I'm so in love right now. She's a badass. This livestream is peaking. The prize pool just hit 1.7 million. Scarlett's martial arts training gave her the upper hand initially, but the man was massive, nearly twice her size. Catching an opening, he tackled her to the ground, pinning her down. The flower shop turned into a war zone. Vases shattered. Flowers flew everywhere. The red-eyed brute spat in her face, cursing. "You crazy brat, you dare mess with me?" Scarlett's face turned red, her breathing ragged, but she kept thrashing. Just as she was about to lose her breath, I grabbed a heavy glass vase from the floor and without an ounce of hesitation smashed it over the back of the man's head. Crash! The brute went limp and collapsed like a sack of potatoes. Scarlett gasped for air, violently kicking his heavy body off her. She sat up furiously, but the moment her eyes met mine, they widened in shock. Reflected in Scarlett's amber eyes, backlit by the afternoon sun, was a bruised, slender boy holding a broken vase, barely standing, breathing heavily. I opened my mouth to speak, but right on cue, I let the vase slip from my weakened grip. It rolled across the floor with a crisp clatter. My injured legs gave out and I collapsed forward. Acting on pure instinct, Scarlett lunged forward and caught me in her arms. The moment I was pressed against her, I could hear her heart hammering in her chest like a drum solo. Ah, the suspension bridge effect. A psychological phenomenon where people in high stress or fearful situations mistake their rapidly beating hearts for romantic attraction. Everything was going exactly according to my evil mastermind plan. I had tailor-made this scenario for her. A hot-headed, arrogant princess tries to play the hero, only to be dramatically saved by the damsel at the last second. I had mentally rehearsed every expression and gesture 1,000 times. Feeling her racing heartbeat, my body gave a slight, perfectly calculated tremble. Scarlett awkwardly held my shoulders, entirely unsure of what to do, and whispered in a rare, clumsy voice, "Just now. Thank you." The bald man was promptly arrested for intentional assault. Knowing Scarlett's vindictive streak and her family's power, that guy wasn't seeing daylight anytime soon. Auntie Tessa was crying tears of gratitude, praising Scarlett as the hero of the modern age. Scarlett, who had only ever been known as a holy terror, had never been praised for being good before. She rubbed a small scratch on her nose, her cheeks suspiciously pink. "It's nothing. I was just coming to visit Julian anyway. I just conveniently helped out to thank her. I offered to tutor her that weekend." She was visibly thrilled but kept her chin up, playing it cool. "Saturday, 3 p.m., my private villa, and your glasses are broken. Stop wearing them. They look stupid." Come the weekend, I sat in her villa's study, explaining a math problem. In my past life, we had a massive screaming match when I found out she orchestrated the flower shop disaster. But this time, I was going to be the best damn tutor money could buy. After just a few equations, the heiress's eyes glazed over. I watched her chewing her pen, staring at a simple fill-in-the-blank question, like it was written in alien hieroglyphs. I couldn't help but sigh. The livestream comments were having a field day. "The princess is definitely regretting hiring a tutor, Lemo. Ha 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 ha, so embarrassing. She tried flirting with him 3 times and the nerd literally only cares about math. Is it just me, or is Julian really good explaining things? Even my dumb brain understood that theorem." Meanwhile, I noticed the faint light of a phone camera peeking through the crack of the door. It was her elderly butler. He was trying to whisper but couldn't hide his tearful joy. "Master, madam, the heavens have opened. The young miss is actually doing math." By this point, Scarlett was about to nod off for the 3rd time. I sighed in defeat. "Let's call it a day." "Oh right, I totally get it now," she blurted defensively before realizing what I said. "Wait, we're done?" She looked like she had just survived a hostage situation. Before leaving, I pulled a premium Floyd rose from my bag and placed it on her desk. Scarlett froze. "Flowers? For me?" I nodded, my face deadpan. "A customer canceled a huge order. We had to pay a penalty. I used the bonus Auntie Tessa gave me to buy 1 rose. Thanks for helping out the other day." Seeing her complex expression, I raised an eyebrow. "If you don't like it, I'll take it back." She immediately snatched it from the desk, her face beet red. "Who said I didn't like it?" When I walked out of the villa, it was late afternoon. The golden sunset draped over the private equestrian grounds where a figure was riding a horse at full gallop. Bianca pulled the reins, trotting elegantly toward me. She truly looked flawless. Her white riding habit only accentuated her graceful, untouchable aura. Her family wasn't as old money as Scarlett's. They were tech nouveau riche, but Bianca was known for her gentle, refined manners. Everyone loved her. In my past life, that fake gentleness was exactly what fooled me. When Scarlett exposed the bet, I refused to believe it until Bianca herself admitted it. I remember asking her why. She just smiled that perfect smile and delivered the most ruthless line. "Julian, you look a lot like my childhood sweetheart. But he was pure and innocent. He wasn't cheap like you. So what if you have the best grades? You're just a cheap toy that's easy to play with." If Scarlett was cruel out of sheer ignorance, Bianca was pure, distilled malice. Now bathed in the sunset, Bianca looked down at me from her horse, her eyes as warm as ever. "Thank you for tutoring Scarlett. Please be patient with her in the future." I looked up, meeting her beautiful phoenix eyes dead on. "Are you implying that Scarlett has a terrible personality and is hard to deal with, so I need to be extra forgiving?" Bianca stiffened for a fraction of a second before smoothly correcting herself. "No, that's not what I meant at all." Right then, her majestic green roan horse neighed and actually lowered its head to affectionately nuzzle my palm. Bianca looked genuinely shocked. "That's Andrew, a Hanoverian warmblood. He has a terrible temper and hates strangers. He seems to really like you." I chuckled internally. Hanoverian horses are literally famous worldwide for their docile and gentle nature. Terrible temper, my foot. I knew exactly what her game was. Scarlett was aggressive and set off alarm bells. Bianca played the patient hunter. In the past, she engineered dozens of coincidental meetings, slowly making me drop my guard until I willingly fell for her. Seeing my lack of reaction, Bianca leaned down and offered her white-gloved hand. "Julian, do you want to ride with me?" The scene was picture perfect. A romantic sunset, a beautiful girl, golden hour lighting. She was absolute certain I wouldn't refuse. But she miscalculated. Sure, in the past, she used the suspension bridge effect of horseback riding to make my heart race. But today, I barely glanced at her outstretched hand. Instead, I pointed at her collar and casually asked, "What's that?" Caught off guard, a flash of annoyance crossed Bianca's eyes. She withdrew her hand, unclipped the black iris brooch from her chest and held it out. I stared at the pin. I knew perfectly well it was a state-of-the-art hidden camera. Bianca's psychological fortitude was insane. She shoved the literal evidence of her spying right in my face without batting an eyelash. The livestream chat was losing it. Why do I feel like he's staring right through the camera at my soul? I'm scared. Someone turn this off. Impossible. The Bianca family's tech is military grade. He can't know. This is thrilling. Sending a super chat. Seeing me stare at it, Bianca smiled flawlessly. Do you like it? I can give it to you. I gave a faint smile and looked away. No thanks. Black irises really aren't my vibe. Bianca insisted on driving me back to school. Honestly, it was a 10-minute drive, but there were no bus routes here. Looking at the high school girl sitting in the driver's seat of a Lamborghini Revuelto, I hesitated. You're not old enough to drive. Bianca smiled, pulling out an international license and waving it. Don't worry, I got it abroad. So, Mr. Valedictorian, do I have the honor of giving you a ride? On the way back, I stayed completely silent, mentally reviewing vocabulary words. The live stream, however, was chaotic. He's so cold but so handsome. This poor kid is so rude. Playing hard to get? This isn't a cheap romance novel. Am I the only one vibing to the engine sound of this hypercar? The car tore down the road and stopped smoothly in front of the school gates. I went to open the door, but it was locked. I frowned and looked at her. Bianca's voice was playful, almost mocking. Julian, how do you plan to pay for this ride? Without missing a beat, I pulled 2 crumpled 100 yuan bills from my pocket and handed them over with a look of extreme reluctance. Keep the change, Bianca smiled, her eyes curving like crescent moons. Sorry, I'm not short on cash. We stared at each other in silence for a few seconds. Suddenly, I tilted my head, my voice serious but laced with a teasing edge. We've met somewhere before, haven't we, Bianca? The chat exploded. Cringe! That pickup line is from the Stone Age! He thinks that'll work on the goddess? Wait, is it me or has the goddess been quiet for too long? Bianca looked at me, a hint of disappointment in her eyes. I smiled and delivered the finishing blow. But the person I knew was clumsy and a bit weird. They definitely wouldn't lock their classmate in a car for no reason. After getting out, I stood by the door, smiled, and slipped the 200 yuan through the cracked window. Watching the hypercar roar away like an angry beast, my smile vanished. At her wedding in my past life, she said her husband's smile reminded her of her first love, her childhood friend. But she and I were from entirely different worlds. We were never childhood friends. There was only one logical conclusion. She had a childhood friend, and I happened to look just like him. Knowing this cheat code, I naturally abused it. By planting this vague, mysterious seed, a paranoid and calculated person like Bianca would definitely investigate. And while she obsessed over finding the answer, she would constantly think about me. It's a psychological trick called the mere exposure effect. The more you're exposed to something, the more you end up liking it. Honestly, I should be thanking the past life Bianca for teaching me these top-tier manipulation tactics. A few months passed peacefully. I lived the simple life of a student. Class, library, cafeteria. Weekends at the flower shop, followed by tutoring Scarlett. Every time I went, I brought her a single Floyd rose. At first, Scarlett was awkward about it, but she soon got used to it. I didn't half-ass the tutoring either. I genuinely helped her understand the material. In my past life, my refusal to tutor her got me branded as a weird, ungrateful country hick. They even spread rumors that I cheated to get my top grades. This time I was leaving absolutely zero loopholes. Winter approached. Finals were around the corner. During a weekend session at the villa, Scarlett sat perfectly upright at her desk, a rare look of nervous anticipation on her face. I put down my red grading pen. You scored a 63 on this math mock test. You've improved. You passed. The elderly butler, who had apparently been on standby, let out a joyous squeak and popped a confetti cannon from out of nowhere. Amidst the falling confetti, Scarlett grabbed my hands, pulled me out of my chair, and started spinning me around in a chaotic waltz. I was too dizzy to remind her that the test was out of 150 points. The beefy butler quietly slipped out, carefully closing the door behind him. Thoroughly nauseated from the spinning, I tapped her lightly on the head. Stop messing around. If you spin me one more time, no flower for you today. She stuck her tongue out, feigning guilt. I'm sorry, I shouldn't tease you. I won't do it again. Now give me my flower. I rolled my eyes and handed her the rose. Scarlett beamed, taking it, but then crushed a petal mischievously. Lied to you. I'll absolutely do it again. As finals got closer, I got busier. One day, while studying in the library, someone tapped my shoulder. I looked up. It was Toby, a chubby-faced guy with a buzz cut. Blushing furiously, he held out a pink envelope. Julian, could you help me give this to Bianca? I frowned and didn't take it. Toby was a scholarship student like me. In my past life, he was one of the few who didn't participate in the betting pool. After I died, he even tried to file a whistleblower report for me, though the Bianca family crushed it instantly. Seeing my silence, Toby hurriedly explained, You always go to her neighborhood on weekends and she always drives you back. That's why I'm asking. Please? I refused bluntly. Sorry, can't help you. Toby looked baffled. Why? Don't tell me you like the goddess too? The surrounding tables instantly went dead silent. People were shamelessly eavesdropping. I glanced at the hidden cameras mounted on the ceiling, then shook my head at Toby. Long story short, just know, Toby was honest and naive. He was absolute cannon fodder against a master manipulator like Bianca. I didn't want him repeating my tragic fate, but with the cameras rolling I couldn't explain. I just hoped he'd give up. Toby stomped his foot, shoved the letter into my hands and pleaded, "If you don't like her, then just help a bro out." "Thanks, Julian." He bolted before I could say another word. I stood there, expressionless, gripping the pink envelope. After the love letter incident, Scarlett's attitude toward me instantly froze. Usually, she bombed my phone with hundreds of texts daily. Math questions, cute stickers, random nonsense. But for a whole week, crickets. I was drowning in finals prep, so I didn't bother reaching out. If I could see the live stream chat, I would have known the audience was panicking. Are our ships sinking? I literally just donated 9 fireworks. But it looks like Princess Scarlett is super pissed about that love letter. He gives Scarlett flowers but acts as a wingman for someone else to Bianca? Is he two-timing? So tragic, I was really rooting for them. Saturday came. I arrived at Scarlett's villa on time. I rang the bell. Nothing. I checked my phone. My messages to her had a red exclamation mark. I'd been blocked. I rang it one more time. After 10 minutes of silence, I got the hint. I turned to leave. Just as I reached the gate, the front door clicked open. I walked inside to find Scarlett slouched on the living room sofa, a video game controller in her hands, completely ignoring me like I was the delivery guy. I stood there until she finally finished her match. She looked up, her tone freezing. "Oh, you actually showed up. I thought you weren't going to bother explaining yourself." I blinked. "Explain what? I'm here to tutor you." Scarlett scoffed. "Tutor? We haven't spoken in a week." I thought His Majesty the valedictorian forgot about his job. She tossed the controller, stood up, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me up the stairs to the study. The moment the door slammed shut, she shoved me hard against the desk. The edge dug into my spine. Ow! Before I could regain my balance, Scarlett slammed both hands on the desk, caging me in and leaned in close. I leaned back, genuinely annoyed. "Scarlett, what is your problem?" She didn't answer. She grabbed my jaw and leaned in to kiss me. Acting on pure reflex, I raised my hand and slapped her. Smack! The crisp, high-definition sound echoed in the silent room. Scarlett slowly turned her face back. Her eyes were welling with tears, filled with pure, unadulterated shock. She gritted her teeth and demanded, "Julian, tell me right now, why did you throw away the love letter meant for Bianca?" I took a deep breath. "Scarlett, our relationship is strictly a tutoring contract. You pay me for my time and knowledge. Aside from math, I don't owe you a single explanation about my life." Scarlett stared at me for a long time, then let out a mocking laugh. "A tutoring contract? Is that why you brought me a rose every single time? Was that part of the contract too?" I looked her dead in the eye. "If you prefer it this way, fine. I didn't bring one today." Scarlett froze. "What?" I didn't elaborate. "The flower was a reward. If you don't want it, you won't get it anymore." My unspoken implication was clear. If you don't want the flower, don't expect me to come back either. Unwilling to back down, she stared at me, searching my face for any sign of jealousy or weakness, but I remained perfectly stoic. Finally, she let out a cold laugh. "At the end of the day, you're just doing this for the money. As long as there's cash, anyone can buy Julian, right? Well, great, I have money. You honors kids have probably never seen the purebred horses in my family's stables. This time I put my back into it." Scarlett, the spoiled princess who struck fear into the entire academy, had never been slapped twice in her life. Her head was bowed, hair messy, her lower lip bitten bone white. She was vibrating with rage. Just as the room was about to spontaneously combust, a timid knock came from the door. The elderly butler peeked in, sweating profusely, holding a meticulously arranged fruit platter. "Mr. Julian, please, have some fruit." I immediately shoved Scarlett aside, grabbed my bag, and marched toward the door. As I stepped out, her shrill scream echoed behind me. "Julian, if you walk out that door today, don't you dare regret it!" I paused for 1 second, then kept walking. By the time I hit the stairs, the sound of desks and chairs being violently overturned echoed from the second floor. The livestream was a complete madhouse. This trope is old as dirt, but why am I so addicted? Julian was so badass just now. Those slaps echoed in my soul. I bet all my money they'd kiss this episode. I'm ruined. Thank God it's the weekend. I actually set an alarm to watch this. Outside the villa, Bianca was leaning against the doorframe, her eyes curved in a predatory smile. "What happened? Fought with Scarlett again?" "I told you to be more patient with her. She was pushing me to prove my identity to her." I kept a straight face. "I'm not in a good mood today. I don't want to talk. Excuse me." Bianca chuckled softly. "All right, but I believe there will come a day when you'll be on your knees, begging to tell me everything." On the forum, Bianca's livestream feed was pitch black. Everyone had flooded into Scarlett's stream. Technology is wild. Never thought I'd see a live broadcast of a billionaire heiress throwing a tantrum. Honestly, my golden retriever has a better personality than her. Julian is just a poor kid dreaming of marrying into wealth to change his life. The Scarlett family will never allow it. Actually, the chairman and his wife really like Julian. Everyone was stunned by Scarlett's rage. They felt bad for me, mocked the situation, and universally agreed that the live stream would end soon because Scarlett was officially done with me. I, meanwhile, went back to my dorm, took a deep breath, and opened my textbooks. A new week started. Scarlett and I were in a total cold war. As the class president in charge of discipline, I had to oversee the final swimming exam. After it ended, I was locking up the indoor pool when I heard voices inside. I hesitated, then pushed the door open. A group of perfectly groomed rich kids were gathered by the edge of the water. Down in the freezing pool, Toby was shivering violently, repeatedly diving to the bottom to look for something. Hunter, the ringleader, sneered from the edge. "Keep diving, fatty. That watch is worth millions. If you don't find it, your family is paying for it." Since the exam was over, the pool's heating system had been shut off. In the biting cold water, Toby hugged his arms, his face deathly pale. "Hunter, I'm sorry." Hunter cut him off with a cruel laugh. "I told you to dive. Weren't you trying to play loyal dog for the goddess Bianca? I'm giving you a chance to prove it." Everyone knew Hunter was obsessed with Bianca, so his targeting Toby, who had tried to deliver my letter, wasn't surprising. Toby had no choice but to plunge back into the freezing water. I clenched my fists. This school was infested with these entitled sociopaths who could destroy a student's, or even a teacher's, life on a whim. Maybe I should just walk away. Toby's mess had nothing to do with me. I had shielded him from the letter incident. I'd done enough. But seeing Toby's helpless, naive face triggered a memory of my death in my past life. Back then, my scholarship was cut, my ID card frozen, not a penny to my name. I survived on 2 cheap steamed buns a day while working illegal off-campus jobs. On the day of my swimming exam, starving and exhausted, I got the call that my parents had died. I hid in the locker room and bawled my eyes out, but amidst the agony, I swore to survive. No matter how much the universe tortured me, I wouldn't break. And then, walking by the pool, I saw a shiny coin. Reaching for it, I slipped and fell in. I was a strong swimmer, but I was severely malnourished. Before I sank completely, I reached my hand toward the surface, desperate for a sliver of hope, a sliver of life. Back in the present, Toby was still desperately diving. My face hardened. I pulled out my phone, sent my live location to Bianca, and waited. She replied instantly. "Ready to beg for my forgiveness?" I didn't reply. I placed my phone on a nearby bench, looked up at the bullies, and spoke. "If you want to find the watch, you can ask the staff to drain the pool. There's no need to torture him." Hunter turned to me. "Well, for that to happen, the rat has to get out of the water first." As Toby scrambled up the ladder, Hunter pointed at me. "Grab him." His cronies lunged, twisting my arms behind my back and shoving me toward Hunter. I knew fighting back was useless. My only goal was to stall for time. I stood there, taking it. Hunter grabbed my hair, forcing my head up. He smirked. "You're not even that good looking. A broke loser like you dares to piss off people you can't afford to touch? Who gave you the guts to play hero?" Someone suggested they shouldn't dirty their hands on me. Hunter nodded, then looked at Toby. "You, come here. Slap him twice, and we'll call it even for the watch." Toby froze, horrified. I narrowed my eyes, genuinely disgusted by the cruelty. Hunter pressed harder. "If you can slap him until he cries, until he's begging for his mommy, I guarantee nobody in this school will ever mess with you again." Toby was pushed in front of me. He was trembling worse than when he was in the water. We locked eyes, then his voice cracked. "Julian, I'm sorry." Smack. The back of his hand hit my face. Hunter laughed hysterically. "One more, and don't fake it." This one hit so hard, my head snapped to the side. My newly replaced glasses clattered to the tiles. Hunter grabbed my chin, looking disappointed. "Why isn't he crying?" He tilted his head toward Toby. "One last chance. Push him into the pool and you're off the hook." Toby looked at me, terrified. He hesitated for a long second, then raised his trembling hands and shoved me into the deep end. Hunter graciously allowed Toby to flee. The water was 2 meters deep. I had to tread water constantly just to keep my face above the surface. From the edge, Hunter gave his new order. "Since Fatty left, you can go find my watch." I didn't answer. I just stared at him with dead, empty eyes. Someone laughed. "Tough guy, huh? Let's sit and watch. Nobody goes home until he finds it." They pulled up chairs, laughing and joking, while the cold seeped into my bones. I knew if this dragged on, I'd actually freeze to death. I couldn't just wait to be saved. Right in front of their eyes, I closed my eyes and simply stopped kicking, letting myself sink into the dark water. It was sudden. The main pool lights were off, leaving only a dim emergency light. Under the rippling surface, they lost track of me instantly. The laughter abruptly stopped. Hunter's nervous chuckle broke the silence. "Let's see how long he can hold his breath." 30 seconds. Hunter brushed it off. "What's the big deal? He just passed the swim test. He's not gonna drown 1 minute." Hunter shot up from his chair, voice cracking. "Julian, get the hell out of there right now, you hear me?" 1 minute and 30 seconds. Pure panic erupted. Someone muttered, "Forget the kid. The live stream is still running. What if the 2 heiresses aren't done playing with him?" Hunter roared. "It's not my fault. I just wanted to teach him a lesson." While they were losing their minds, I was casually gliding underwater toward the edge, using the dim lighting as cover. I was calculating which one of these jerks I should drag down with me to share the cold. Before I could pick a target, a massive splash exploded near me. Someone had blindly jumped into the pool. Before I could react, a figure swam frantically toward me, grabbed my arm and hauled me to the surface. We broke the water, gasping. Scarlett immediately clung to me, her expensive uniform soaked, checking my breathing. I pushed her hands away, coughing. "I'm fine." Water dripped from my hair like cold tears. "You scared me to death." Scarlett grabbed my hand, her fingers trembling. "You're freezing. You have no body heat at all." I shivered, trying to pull my hand away, but before I could, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the hall. I looked up. Bianca had arrived. She was late. Scarlett glared at Hunter's crew. Even soaking wet, her aura was absolutely terrifying. The bullies immediately dropped their heads, terrified. Scarlett's eyes locked onto Bianca. "Keep your dogs on a leash, Bianca." After Bianca escorted the terrified bullies out, Scarlett turned back to me. She pressed my icy hands against her warm cheeks, looking pathetic. "If I didn't come looking for you, would you really have never spoken to me again?" I gently pushed her away. "I need to change." The winter uniform was incredibly heavy when wet, yet she refused to let go. With water up her nose, she sounded like a whiny child. "I had a history class today. The teacher talked about the collapse of the Soviet Union." I cursed her mentally for being a dramatic psycho but asked, "And?" She hugged my arm tighter. "The Cold War ended. Let's make up, okay?" After changing, I checked the time and walked out. Scarlett and Bianca were waiting for me at the entrance. Honestly, I hadn't expected Scarlett to show up. I just found out Toby had sprinted straight to her, begging her to save me. I remembered Toby's drenched, stumbling figure fleeing the pool. I didn't blame him. If I could forgive him for surviving, wasn't it time I forgave them too? Scarlett stepped on her tiptoes to wrap a thick scarf around my neck. Bianca chimed in, "Should we go to the infirmary?" Looking at them, my eyes suddenly turned red. Scarlett panicked. "What? What's wrong?" I looked at them with deadly earnestness, my voice trembling perfectly. "Thank you. Thank you both. I never expected. I didn't think you'd actually come to save me." I swallowed hard, playing the ultimate tragic hero. "I know I'm just a country kid. I'm clumsy and boring. I don't belong in your world. I've always been terrified of being mocked and discarded. But why are you guys so good to me?" Scarlett froze, her face going blank. I leaned down and placed a soft, fleeting kiss on her cheek. The livestream chat absolutely detonated. "They kissed! They kissed! Mark the time, 1923. I've been watching this all semester and I officially stand the nerd. He wasn't two-timing, he just didn't want the chubby kid to get bullied over the letter. Julian is actually an angel. He brought local snacks from his hometown when he first transferred and everyone threw them away. He never brought them again. Honestly, doesn't anyone else think this betting game is psychotic, playing with his feelings like this?" Public opinion had completely flipped in my favor. Scarlett stood paralyzed, then violently blushed and buried her face in my chest, stammering, "You're a good person. Nobody hates you. But why do you have to say such cheesy things? So annoying." I faked a shy smile, burying my face in her hair. But out of their line of sight, the corners of my mouth curled into a dark, triumphant smirk. I had waited so long for this moment. Forgiveness and gratitude? Just a bulletproof vest. For someone who has been destroyed by the world, the only weapon left is absolute moral high ground. They approached me with malice, wanting to strip my dignity and drag me through the mud. But I was going to force them to look at my pure, unyielding soul until their own guilt suffocated them. When the truth finally drops, who will be the villain? Who will be the ultimate punchline? I could hardly wait. In the infirmary, I drank the ginger tea and lay down, pretending to sleep. Just as I dozed off, I heard footsteps behind the medical curtain. Someone gently pulled it back. "He's asleep," Scarlett whispered. "Mm-hmm," Bianca replied. A hand checked my forehead for a fever, then retreated. I was about to wake up groggily when Scarlett spoke again. "Bianca, I'm calling off the bet. I stopped the live stream. I've frozen the prize pool. Here's your camera back." Bianca was silent for a long time. "You actually fell for him, didn't you?" Scarlett didn't deny it. "After finals, it's the winter gala. I'm going to confess to Julian there." Bianca's voice wavered. "And if he rejects you?" Scarlett sounded entirely unbothered. "He already kissed me. I'm gorgeous, I'm rich, and I'll treat him really well from now on." Bianca cut in sharply. "But what if he already likes someone else?" Scarlett's voice suddenly dropped 20 degrees. "Bianca, I know you investigated him. Whatever you think you found out, this ends here. Take whatever secrets you have to the grave. In exchange, your family can have the West City Development Project." After handing in my last exam, I walked out to find Scarlett waiting in the hall. She quickly hid a scribbled cheat sheet in her pocket and beamed at me. Before I could speak, she began rambling excitedly. "I did all the easy questions. For the hard ones, I wrote down the formulas and copied the prompt. I definitely passed. You remember your promise, right? If I passed, you'd grant me one request." I nodded. She grinned. "Great. You're coming to my house. I hired my dad's personal stylist. Consider yourself lucky." That afternoon, she threw me to her styling team and ran off blushing, claiming she wanted my look to be a surprise for tonight. I was scrubbed, polished, and dressed in a bespoke suit. The butler drove me to the gala. The first snow of the year fell precisely as I stepped out of the car. The clock tower struck 7 p.m. The gala had officially begun. Everything was so meticulously perfect it felt scripted. Ignoring the staring crowds, I calmly walked toward the grand hall. Standing by the antique doors was Bianca, dressed in a stunning black evening gown, holding a glass of champagne. She smiled. "You look completely different today." I thanked her, noticing she smelled faintly of alcohol. Her cheeks flushed. She stared at me, then suddenly whispered, "I'm sorry." I paused. "For what?" She looked down. "For everything." I watched her squirm for a long moment before giving a soft laugh. "You don't need to apologize, Bianca. At the pool, I sent you my location, and you came right away, didn't you? And all those harsh things you said. I know you were just trying to force an answer out of me." Bianca shook her head, looking devastated. "That answer doesn't matter anymore." She stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter the hall. There's a surprise waiting for you inside. As I brushed past her, I sneakily pinched both my cheeks as hard as I could to make them flush deep red. I gave her a bashful, embarrassed smile and whispered, "You once asked if I came to this school because of that person." I just wanted to say, at least for a while, I did. Genuine words are rare these days, but a blushing confession from an earnest boy, that hits harder than a 10-page monologue. Leaving her paralyzed in shock, I walked into the hall. The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the center stage, accompanied by roaring applause. Scarlett stood there in a pearl-white gown, a sparkling rose brooch pinned to her chest. She looked elegant and radiant. She held a microphone, her voice surprisingly soft. "Lately, I've been dreaming about someone. I dream of him studying so hard. I dream of him playing the hero. I dream of him scowling when I make him mad during tutoring. Every little thing about him makes my heart race." The crowd erupted in awes. Some girls were literally tearing up. Multiple spotlights suddenly swiveled, locking onto me. Across the sea of people, Scarlett looked right at me. "Freud once said the language of roses is you accidentally wandering into my dreams, turning my heart into a garden. You've wandered in my dreams for too long. Can you come to my side now, Julian? I like you. Will you be my boyfriend?" Thousands of rose petals rained down from the ceiling like a fairy tale. The crowd cheered wildly, chanting for me to say yes. I stepped into the light. I blinked, looking overwhelmed, and opened my mouth to speak. But before a single word left my lips, an ear-piercing screech of static ripped through the speakers. Simultaneously, the 4 massive projector screens lining the walls flared to life. The first video showed Scarlett on the stairs, glaring at my retreating back. She scoffed. "This country hick won't tutor me? How am I supposed to get close to him? Let's destroy his little part-time job, see if he crawls back," begging. The screen cut to a second video. Scarlett playfully spinning the Floyd rose in her hand. "Oh look, he gave me a flower. Give me 3 days, I'll have him wrapped around my finger." A third clip. The audio was distorted by the sound of smashing furniture. "Who the hell does he think he is? A filthy, broke loser. Once I win this bet and get bored, I'm throwing him out like the trash he is." Clip after clip, malicious words, arrogant laughter, and the scrolling, vile comments of the live stream flooded the screens. The entire hall fell into a horrifying silence. On stage, Scarlett stood frozen for 3 seconds before screaming hysterically, turn it off now," but her rage evaporated the second she looked at me. Because I wasn't crying, I wasn't broken, I was smiling. A cold, mocking, utterly chilling smile. Scarlett's eyes went wide with pure terror. She hiked up her dress and scrambled off the stage, running toward me. "Julian, it's not what it looks like. Let me explain." I took a half step back, neatly dodging her grasp. One simple movement that spoke volumes. Suddenly, Bianca emerged from the crowd, placing herself firmly between Scarlett and me. She elegantly yet fiercely stated, "Scarlett," he said, "stay away." Scarlett's eyes darkened murderously. "It was you. You leaked the footage, didn't you?" Bianca didn't deny it. She just repeated, "He rejected you, Scarlett." Scarlett's response was a vicious slap directly to Bianca's face. The crowd gasped as Scarlett screamed, "We've been friends for years. You knew how much I actually liked him." Bianca, clutching her stinging cheek, stumbled and fell onto the carpet. She looked pathetic, but a twisted smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "But you know that if I leak that secret—" Scarlett lunged, grabbing Bianca by the hair. "Shut your mouth! You know exactly how many illegitimate kids your dad has. If my family cuts ties with yours, you'll be stripped of your inheritance by tomorrow morning." While the 2 billionaire heiresses were physically tearing each other apart on the floor, the massive screens changed again. It was the betting pool interface. Scarlett's hyped-up audio played overhead. "Let's make a prize pool. All donations go into the pot. Place your bets. When will the country boy lose his first kiss?" The screen displayed the final jackpot, a staggering 5 million yuan. Then, the list of everyone who had placed a bet began rolling like the credits of a horror movie. It was a public execution. You could hear a pin drop in the hall. Bianca, still tangled on the floor, suddenly froze. She muttered, I didn't hack this part." The screen flashed. "Winning bet time, 1923. The crowd started whispering in sheer panic. "Thank God I didn't bet on that exact minute. This is insane. Who guessed it down to the exact second?" Finally, the winner's name flashed in massive, bold letters. "Winner Julian." Every single head in the room snapped toward me. Standing in the spotlight, I finally let out a genuine, from the bottom of my heart laugh. Scarlett and Bianca, looking like absolute train wrecks on the floor, stared at me in horrified disbelief. I smiled, gave them a polite little wave and said, "A bet is a bet. Don't forget to wire the prize money to my account. Ta-ta." Without a single glance back, I turned and walked out into the snow. Back in my dorm, I rolled myself up in my warm blanket and stared at the glorious notification on my phone. Incomes transfer, 5,000 yuan. For the first time since my rebirth, I felt true peace. Outside my window, the snow was falling heavily, but I could faintly smell the scent of roses. I knew that right down below, Scarlett was sitting in a convertible completely filled with Floyd roses, waiting for me. She had screamed herself hoarse, crying, apologizing, begging, swearing she would never do it again. I opened my blocked contacts, found her number, and sent a 2-word text. "Too noisy." A few seconds later, the world finally went quiet. At 2 a.m., the blizzard was raging. I couldn't sleep, so I got up to review some advanced coursework. Suddenly, a massive firework exploded outside my window, lighting up the sky. Scarlett wasn't screaming anymore. She was just silently setting off fireworks, one after another, in the freezing cold. I closed the curtains, put on my noise-canceling headphones, turned off the light, and went to sleep. I don't know how long I slept, but violent banging on my door woke me up. I took off my headphones and heard chaos downstairs. "Someone fainted! Call an ambulance!" In the VIP ward of the city hospital, Bianca and I sat by Scarlett's bed. She was unconscious, an IV in her arm. Staring at her pale face, Bianca suddenly spoke. "Julian, I've thought about it for a long time. Even if I lose my inheritance, I still want to tell you." I cut her off with zero hesitation. "You people are psychopaths." I looked at the goddess in front of me and finally asked the question I'd been holding back for 2 lifetimes. "You lack even the most basic human respect, yet you can sit here and put on a show of profound true love. Are you clinically insane?" Bianca's face drained of all color. The room fell into a deathly silence. I was about to get up to pour a glass of water when someone grabbed my sleeve. I turned back. Scarlett was awake. Her eyes were still closed, but her eyelashes were wet. Her frail fingers gripped my sleeve with surprising strength. "Don't go, please," she croaked. I pried her fingers off, tucked her hand back under the blanket, and flatly replied, "Landing yourself in the hospital to play the victim is incredibly stupid." Just then, the VIP doors swung open. The elderly butler escorted a wealthy, middle-aged couple inside. Scarlett's parents. Her father saw her miserable state and trembled with rage. "Are you trying to give us a heart attack?" Her mother, hiding her embarrassment, gently stroked Scarlett's head before turning to me. "You must be Julian. Could we have a word?" I nodded. Scarlett forced herself to sit up, her eyes red, and grabbed her mother's hand. Mom, please help me convince him. I've never liked anyone this much. I'm begging you." In the private hospital lounge, Scarlett's mother handed me a cup of premium tea. She was the picture of elegance. "Julian, we know everything. The live stream was an impulsive mistake. The Scarlett family will take full responsibility for the damage to your reputation." She took a sip of tea, looking at me warmly, and laid out 2 options. "People say true. Obsessive love only exists among the ultra-wealthy. It sounds arrogant, but it holds some truth. Scarlett has been fiercely protected her whole life. She's wild but not evil at heart." She carefully proposed, "Option 1. Our family will send both of you abroad to study, fully paid. After graduation, if you still have feelings for each other, you can marry into our family." I had to admit, the matriarch was a master negotiator. She knew forcing Scarlett to give up would cause a rebellion. So, she offered me the ultimate golden ticket, marrying into billionaires to instantly bridge the class divide. I looked deeply moved. "And the second option?" She looked surprised. "Do you not like Scarlett?" I lowered my eyes, staying silent for a long time. Finally, I whispered, "Maybe I did, but I will never be with someone who treated me like a joke." Mrs. Scarlett was quiet. Then, like a benevolent elder, she reached out and patted my head. "Julian, you're a smart boy. Listen to my advice. Stay with her." Her eyes darkened with profound warning. "Even if you run away now, this hunt isn't over. When young people who don't understand love or hate form an obsession, they will chase you to the ends of the earth. We can't control them forever. Years from now, when they come into their full power, they will find you." Bianca had already used her family's tech to pull the school's footage. What couldn't they do in a decade? I set the lukewarm teacup down, looked her dead in the eye, and smiled faintly. "You're forgetting one thing, ma'am. By the time they find me, I won't be the same person I am today. I'll be stronger. Stronger than all of them." In the end, Mrs. Scarlett agreed to pay the massive penalty fee to break my scholarship contract. Using her connections, she quietly relocated my family and me to a small city in the sunny south. Before we parted ways, she gently adjusted my coat collar. "Good boy. I promise you, before your 20th birthday, no one will find you." When I walked out of the hospital, the snow was still falling. I didn't look back at the suffocating, twisted warmth behind me. I just walked silently into the roaring, freezing night. The wind howled, and the snow turned my hair white. I don't know how long I walked. I just noticed the wind dying down. I looked up. The eastern sky was breaking. The first ray of sunlight pierced through the heavy clouds, brilliantly illuminating the entire sky.